Hi, welcome to the weekly quickie April wrap-up session. Wow, my first month of weekly vlogging is over, and despite technical issues, lack of sleep and the risk of embarrassing myself on a permanent and international format, I survived and plan to continue. Crazy, I know. Anyway, going forward, my blog is going to be pre-recorded and published on Sundays. This is because I know I have things happening over the next few months, commitments that I need to attend on Sunday mornings, and so it's better if I pre-record and get this all up and just publish it for you rather than trying to wake up at God knows what time to get it done or stressing over the fact that I need to get it done on a Sunday morning. And this time, you can still watch it whenever you want. So how does it impact the setup of my weekly quickie? It won't really. You'll still be able to send me questions via the Google Forms link. It will just close on a Wednesday of each week now instead of the night beforehand. And that allows me time to set out what questions I'm going to use, what I'm going to answer, and film it. I'll still answer those questions for you on the vlog, and on top of the weekly quickie, I might still run a live follow-up session depending on what happens, and I'll see what works. In the meantime, here's the April wrap-up. So the wrap-up is going to basically finalise any topics that we've covered each month and give you an idea of what other things I've been doing this month. So topics covered this month. The first topic for April was the Angelus series. Book 1 of the Angelus series, Spectra, was published in February 2017, and as most of the fans of Spectra know, I've been struggling to get some traction on writing the sequel. After a good start during NaNoWriMo last November, Wraith came to a halt again when my role at work became more demanding. Knowing that talking about one of my books usually gets the muse reinvested in writing it, Wraith was obviously the first topic for the weekly quickie. And it worked. After the weekly quickie dedicated to Wraith, I wrote an entire chapter, nearly 3,500 words in the sequel. That may not sound like much, but after months of not writing, that seemed like a lot. And it brought the word count up to 20,000 for the sequel. So keep the questions coming, and they will keep prompting me to keep writing. The following week, the topic revolved around the Hotel series. I finished book 3 of the Hotel series, Homes, on New Year's Eve, achieving a goal and deadline I'd set for myself. Immediately after finishing Homes, I realised that wasn't the end of the series. Best Man, a book I'd written some time ago, fitted into that world, and so Best Man became book 4 in that series, but revolves around Jess, whereas the previous 3 books, Henderson, Cassidy and Holmes, all followed the story of Holly. Halfway through uploading Best Man to Radish, I realised that it was going to need the epilogue I'd refused to write 5 years ago. I think one of the reasons it's taken so long to write that epilogue was because I didn't know back then that Jess would be part of the Hotel series world. Once that revelation hit, I could not only see the epilogue, but the 2 sequels that are going to follow on from Best Man. That's right, Jess is going to have her own trilogy. For those who have been waiting years to read Jess's continuation, the epilogue will be published to Radish on May 16th. If you're wanting to know about the sequel to Best Man, all I can tell you is that the title is going to be Best Layover. As for the word count of the sequel, there is none currently. But the muse and I are plotting, scary as that thought is. So last week's topic was Phased, book 1 of the Ravenswing trilogy. Phased is the most recent addition to my published works of urban fantasy. Currently, it is only available on Radish, with no plans for that to change in the near future. I'm still working on the sequel Unphased, which is also sitting at around the 20,000 word mark. Answers only make more questions, so if you've read Phased and still burdened with curiosity about what's going to be in the sequel or what's going to happen in the sequel, who's going to be in the sequel, send me your questions. It might inspire the muse to finish something. As mentioned earlier, I finally added another chapter to the Spectra sequel, Wraith, bringing the word count up to just under 20,000 words. Believe it or not, I was stuck on Spectra and Bay having sex again. Now that it's out of my head, I need to write Spectra's confrontation with Alexander about her relationships. Currently, I'm in the midst of publishing Of Shadow and Light to Radish. The previous working title for this book was Buried and Forgotten, which featured on my Wattpad account while I wrote it. After completing the story, I realised the name didn't suit the plot anymore, and so that was the first change to occur. The cover changed mid-first draft or thereabouts. As part of the publishing process, I am editing as I go. This has resulted in a lot of rewriting, giving more description to scenes and even writing chapters that previously didn't exist. Only 10 chapters in, and we have 3 extra chapters, one of those being a never seen before chapter from Tynan's point of view. So if you read Buried and Forgotten and liked it previously, it's only gotten better as Shadow and Light. It's up to you whether you want to go and try reading it again. I know I nearly forgot what it was all about because it's been so long since it was up on Wattpad. Something new that the Muse and I started working on just this last week is Fast Hearts. This is a new idea with a dual point of view delivery about people in the racing circuit who put their adrenaline rush above everything else in their lives. It's all about fast vehicles, money and sex. Things that give you a natural high, basically. I'm pretty sure my designing my next tattoo might have helped inspire this one. I haven't even finished the second chapter yet, but it's starting to look rough and sexy. I've been researching for it, but with how slow writing is for me of late, don't go holding your breath. Some of you may have noticed that I've been rejigging my website this past month. I received notice that the design app I was using was no longer going to be supported, and so I've had to redesign the entire site. Some may say that was well overdue. Anyway, as a repercussion, I'm also blogging a bit more again. Please do check it out, follow my blog. There are some book extras for some of my series, mainly the glossary that was left out of the original publication, but there will also be sneak peeks at upcoming sequels turning up occasionally. Not going to stay there permanently, so you'll have to keep on top of things. So here are my goals for the next month. Finish the edits on Shadow and Light, finish writing the new epilogue to Best Man and publish on time, start Sin's Child's edits, do something about Cassidy because I've been having a really hard time getting a professional editor. It's been a drama. Read 2 books on my to-read pile. This is a carryover from last month's. I read 3 books last month, but I was rereading my books to continue writing sequels, so I don't count when I reread my own books. And write what the Muse wants when I can. They're my 6 goals. For looking forward into May, topics for May for the weekly quickie are going to be next week of Shadow and Light. I know you are all going to be asking questions about the rattlesnake in the room. 13th of May is Mother's Day in Australia, so this will be all about being a mother and a writer and a bit about project managing my life around those things. The third topic for May will be a flow-on from the Mother's Day special, where I'll be talking about an app called Trello. This one was requested by Layla and will be about how I use Trello to manage all my working processes, plus the business side of my writing. So, on to the good part of the weekly quickie, this week's questions. First question, how has your childhood formed your writing style? So, it's no secret that I had some bad experiences as a child. Being a female Aspie girl in the 80s and 90s meant being different from other girls at school made me a target for bullying. I was bullied persistently from kindergarten until year 12. My home life also left scars, physical and emotional. I would say that a lot of my negative experiences growing up has influenced my writing style. I tend to write the darker side of life. When I tried to write a comedy, Rain, we all know what happened there, I ended up writing one of my darkest romances yet. Obviously, comedy is not going to be my genre. I don't think we need to psychoanalyze my writing to see that my life experience have impacted the stories, but also the moral behind the books. So, for the second question, when did the muse first show up? Did she scare you? I've been having horrifically vivid nightmares since I was 4 years of age. That's when I first remember them anyway. I used to wake up everyone with my screaming. My first nightmares were about being trapped in a room with no doors or windows with a ladder in the centre that led to a manhole that had blood dripping from the edge. This was at 4 years of age. So I'd terrify myself awake because I'd suddenly be standing against the wall and all of a sudden I'd be in front of the ladder. And just that movement alone, that quick, unexpected movement would terrify me, and I'd wake up screaming. So since then, the murder and mayhem of my nights only got worse. So as far as I can tell, the muse has been there a long time, and she's always scared me. She still does. I think I first recognised her as an imaginary friend growing up, and whether she is imaginary or not, we found, as in whether she's my imagination or something entirely different, the muse and I found a joint love for storytelling. And since I started writing those stories down, I've been a lot happier because she's been a lot happier, which has made our coexistence a lot better. Are any of the characters in your books based on people in your life? And do they know? So this is just asking for trouble. Honestly, I rarely base characters on real people. In fact, I will go out of my way to make sure that they don't resemble anyone I know. However, I have been inspired to write characters based on dreams that I've had about people that I know. As most people who have been following me for a while know, Succumb was the first book I wrote, and it was based on a dream about two of my friends and I going shopping and encountering a werewolf. When I woke up, I emailed my friends what happened in the dream. They encouraged me to keep going and even picked the names for the characters based on them. Luca and Ariadne. So while the physical presentation of those characters reflects what my friends looked like at the time, their personalities are nothing alike. The same goes for the character Aubrey from Rain. That book was inspired by a dream of me waking up in bed with my manager. No, it wasn't a sexy dream, so let's just clean that mind set up right away. Half the rest of the office were all there in other beds as well. My work dreams can get a little bit on the weird side. So while the initial scene of Rain waking up in bed with her work colleague was inspired by that dream, Aubrey is not based on my manager, nor is he anything alike. For starters, I actually don't know my manager that well enough that I could base a character on him. As for them knowing, yes, the people who have inspired characters in some way or another in my books always know. In fact, we regularly joke about the fact that they've inspired those characters and that I can kill those characters off at any time. So truthfully, when a protagonist is hanging out with her girlfriends, having fun, that's usually what I'm like when I'm hanging out with my friends. But that doesn't make the characters themselves a reflection of my friends, just the dynamic of the interactions. So yeah, not really any characters are based on people. I wouldn't give them the same personality or traits. I think that's just crossing a line that shouldn't happen, especially if the muse has that character do something really horrible later on. That's not going to be good for my friendships, so it's not a good idea to do that. Okay, so that's all I have for now. Thank you for watching yet again. Next week's quickie is all about Shadow and Light, so if you have any questions, send them in by Wednesday of this week to see them answered next Sunday. Okay, have a great week, everyone. Thanks. Bye.